My name is Fatemeh, and I am 34 years old. And before I tell you anything else, I want you to understand that I was born into power, privilege, and fear all at the same time, because in my world, those three things were never separate. They were woven together like tight chains around my heart. I grew up inside a family where my last name opened doors, silenced rooms, and commanded obedience. Yet behind those heavy doors, I lived under constant pressure to perform, obey, and I never question. From the moment I learned to speak, I was taught Islamic prayers, Quranic verses, and the rules of honor that governed every breath I took. I learned when to lower my eyes, when to cover my hair, when to stay silent, and when to disappear into the background. Outwardly, I lived a life many envied, surrounded by guards, wealthy, and influence, but inwardly, I felt like a prisoner in golden chains, suffocating under expectations that left no space for doubt, curiosity, and a weakness. As a child, I feared hell more than I loved God because every lesson I received emphasized punishment, shame, and eternal fire. Even my dreams were haunted by warnings of judgment, and I often woke up crying, convinced that one wrong thought could condemn me forever. By the time I was a teenager, I had perfected the art of appearing faithful while hiding my questions deep inside my chest. I memorized scripture, fasted strictly, prayed publicly, and smiled politely. Yet at night, I stared at the ceiling and wondered why God felt so distant, so silent, so unreachable. I watched women around me endure emotional control, forced obedience, and silent suffering, all justified by religious authority, and I learned early that survival depended on compliance. Any deviation was dangerous, any doubt was rebellion, any curiosity was sin. Still, a quiet hunger stirred inside me, a longing for truth, peace, and love that no ritual could satisfy. I wanted to know God, I not fear Him. I wanted comfort, not terror. I wanted certainty, not endless anxiety. But in my world, those desires had no place. Over time, I became two people: the obedient daughter everyone saw and the broken girl crying alone in the dark. I carried the weight of expectations that I could never escape, and every choice felt predetermined by bloodline and duty. Even my future marriage was discussed as a political alliance rather than a personal decision. Again, I felt myself slowly disappearing beneath layers of obligation. Despite the honor surrounding my family, loneliness became my closest companion, and anxiety my constant shadow. I began to wonder if life was meant to feel like endless endurance rather than joy. If you are watching this and you have ever felt trapped by expectations, fear, or identity, I gently invite you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this story so that others who feel unseen can find hope through testimonies like mine. What happened next changed everything, because one night, a single event shattered my carefully built world and forced me to confront the terrifying possibility that the faith I had trusted all my life might not be true, and that moment of collapse would become the doorway to the greatest transformation I could ever imagine. That night began like many others, wrapped in silence and tension. But it ended with my faith in ruins because I witnessed cruelty dressed in holiness and injustice spoken in the language of God. We were gathered in a private room, the kind sealed from cameras and outsiders, where decisions were made that shaped lives, and a young woman was dragged before us, trembling, accused of secretly speaking with Christians online. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her hands shook uncontrollably, and she begged for mercy, insisting she only asked questions. They only wanted to understand, only wanted peace. My uncle's face hardened, and with a voice cold as stone, he declared that doubt was rebellion, curiosity was betrayal, and punishment was obedience to Allah. The guards pulled her away as she screamed, and the door closed behind her with a sound that echoed like a gunshot inside my chest. I sat frozen, my throat tight, my heart pounding as memories of childhood lessons flooded back, warnings of hellfire, sermons about submission, stories of sinners burning forever. In that moment, everything I had buried rose to the surface, and I realized I was more afraid of men than of God, more loyal to power than to truth. That terrified me. I left the room in silence, my legs shaking, my head spinning, and locked myself inside my bedroom, where I collapsed onto the floor and sobbed until my chest burned. I tried to pray, washing my hands, my face, my feet, repeating familiar words, but every phrase felt hollow, every movement empty. Silence answered me, and for the first time, I allowed myself to whisper the forbidden question, asking whether Allah truly heard me or if I had been speaking into nothingness. My heart cracked, fear and doubt colliding, and I slid down the wall, shaking, begging any God who existed to reveal himself, to show me truth, to rescue me from the prison of fear. Tears soaked my clothes, exhaustion overtook me, and somewhere between despair and surrender, I finally fell asleep, unaware that my desperate plea had already been heard. And as sleep claimed me, memories of every punishment, every threat, every forced act of obedience replayed in my mind, blending into a storm of confusion, sorrow, and aching loneliness that pressed against my soul like an unbearable weight. I felt suspended between belief and disbelief, trapped between loyalty and truth, unsure whether I was losing my faith or finally beginning to see. Fear whispered that I was damned, while hope, faint and trembling, whispered that something new was about to begin. My body trembled beneath the blankets, my breath shallow, my thoughts racing, as though my spirit stood at the edge of a vast unknown, terrified to step forward, yet unable to retreat. I clutched my chest, whispering one last broken prayer for mercy, for light, for answers, not knowing that the silence surrounding me was about to be shattered by a presence that would change the course of my life forever. Feared in that fragile moment, suspended between darkness and dawn, my soul waited trembling for whatever response heaven would choose to send. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, every breath a silent plea, until exhaustion finally pulled me deeper, carrying my broken questions into the mysterious realm of dreams. Unaware that the next moments would redefine my existence, rewrite my identity, and awaken a love I had never known. Thus ended the night, my faith collapsed, leaving me empty, desperate, and unknowingly standing at the doorway of divine encounter that would soon transform everything forever, completely. I drifted into sleep slowly, my body heavy with exhaustion, my heart aching, my thoughts tangled in unanswered questions, and suddenly I was standing in a vast desert bathed in soft golden light, the air warm, still, and alive in a way I had never felt before. In the distance, I saw a figure walking toward me, calm, steady, radiant, and with every step, my fear dissolved like mist under the morning sun. He stopped before me, and when his eyes met mine, I felt known, seen, and loved without condition. He spoke my name, Fatemeh, and the sound of it on his lips shattered the walls around my heart. I fell to my knees, trembling, unable to speak, overwhelmed by a presence that carried both infinite gentleness and unshakable authority. He reached out, lifted my face, and said softly, "I am Jesus, and I have been waiting for you." In that moment, peace poured through me like warm rain, washing away years of fear, shame, and exhaustion. I wept, not from sorrow, but from relief, as if my soul had finally come home. He showed me images of my life, every hidden tear, every silent prayer, every night spent begging for truth, and he told me none of it had been wasted. Then the desert faded, and I saw my country, Iran, wrapped in darkness, its people weary, afraid, and longing for hope. One by one, small lights began to appear, flickering in homes, prisons, hospitals, and hidden rooms, until the land glowed with countless sparks of faith. Jesus turned to me and said he was coming for them, that his love would cross every wall, silence every threat, and break every chain. I tried to ask questions, but my voice failed, and instead I felt his peace settle deep inside my bones. Suddenly I awoke, gasping, my heart racing, my face wet with tears, and my room cloaked in darkness. For several seconds I lay still, afraid to breathe, afraid the memory would fade, but it burned brighter than anything I had ever known. I whispered his name, testing it, and peace answered back. Fear surged through me as I remembered where I lived, who I was, and what this revelation could cost, yet an undeniable hope pulsed beneath the terror, urging me forward. With shaking hands, I reached for my phone, hiding beneath the covers, and typed the forbidden words, searching for Jesus, Christianity, and truth. Every click felt dangerous, every second a risk, but something stronger than fear pulled me onward. As pages loaded, testimonies appeared, stories of others who had seen, heard, and believed, and my chest tightened with wonder. I realized I was no longer alone, that across borders and cultures, there were hearts awakening just like mine. Yet with that hope came dread, because I understood that this path would demand everything, and there would be no turning back. Still, I kept searching, reading, and whispering his name, surrendering my fear, my doubts, and my future into his hands, knowing that whatever awaited me beyond that night, I had finally encountered a love powerful enough to rewrite my destiny, heal my wounds, and lead me out of darkness into a dawn I had never imagined. And as the first light of morning crept through my window, I lay trembling, aware that the girl who had gone to sleep no longer existed, and in her place stood a seeker newly awakened, but poised on the edge of a journey that would demand courage, secrecy, and faith, yet promised life, freedom, healing, purpose, hope, and redemption. Every movement I made after that dream felt like walking on a razor's edge, because every search, every click, every quiet moment of curiosity could be discovered and punishable, yet I could not stop myself. I downloaded a Bible app and hid it behind folders, my heart pounding each time I unlocked my phone, praying silently that no one would notice. At night, with headphones pressed tight, I watched sermons from underground churches, listening to people speak of Jesus, of grace, of mercy, of love that demanded nothing in return but faith. Each verse I read pierced my soul like sunlight through a window long sealed. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest," I whispered, tears streaming down my face, because rest was something I had never known. Every word contradicted everything I had been taught, yet it resonated with a truth I could feel burning inside me. Flashbacks of my childhood returned, the punishments, the fear of hell, the lessons in obedience, the silent tears on the prayer mat, the way every doubt was shamed into invisibility, and I began to understand how deeply fear had been woven into my faith. The more I read, the more I realized I had been taught rules, but never love, obedience, but never grace, submission, but never freedom. And in the darkness of my room, hidden from every eye, I began to pray. Not the memorized prayers I had learned, but my own desperate, trembling words. "Jesus," I whispered, "if you are real, show me, teach me, save me." Peace came over me in waves, a warmth spreading from my chest into every limb, soft, gentle, unstoppable. But fear never left completely, because I knew I was being watched. My mother's gaze lingered too long on me. My uncle's questions felt sharp, probing. I double-checked locks, cleared my history. I hid my Bible app, whispered my prayers in silence, and still anxiety gnawed at me. One evening, I returned from a walk and found my mattress disturbed, my things moved, the faintest sign that someone had been searching. My heart lurched, my breath caught, but I pressed on anyway, drawn to the scriptures, drawn to the voice I had heard in my dream, drawn to the hope that refused to let me sleep in fear forever. I realized that my spiritual rebirth had begun not in safety, but in secrecy, in risk, in the quiet, trembling pursuit of truth that could cost me everything. And though every day was heavy with the possibility of discovery, I could not stop, because I had glimpsed light in the darkness, and it called me forward relentlessly, whispering that freedom, love, and purpose were waiting just beyond the walls of fear that had held me for decades. Each night I prayed, read, watched, and surrendered a little more, knowing that what I was beginning was more than curiosity. It was transformation, and that transformation would demand courage, secrecy, faith, and the willingness to face consequences I could barely imagine. And somewhere in the stillness of those nights, I felt the stirrings of a new identity forming inside me, fragile but fierce, one that would carry me forward into a path that was dangerous, unknown, yet brimming with a hope I had never dared to imagine. I got hope strong enough to pull me from despair and into the hands of Jesus, who had been waiting for me all along, ready to guide me through every shadow, every fear, and every step into the life he had prepared, a life of freedom, love, and unshakable peace. They found out. I don't know exactly how, but one evening during dinner, my uncle's eyes locked on me with a look I had seen before, the look that meant accusation, judgment, and inevitable confrontation. "Explain yourself," he demanded, his voice low but dangerous, and the room seemed to shrink around me. My mother's hands trembled on the table, my cousins stared silently, and I felt like a trapped animal, every muscle frozen, every thought screaming escape. I tried to speak, but the words came out in whispers. I I was curious, I stammered, and the silence that followed was heavier than any punishment I had ever known. Then the storm broke. Accusations flew like daggers. Yana, you shame us. You betray your family. Do you want to be destroyed? Threats, shaming, and verbal lashings filled the room, suffocating me with every syllable. I was sent to my room and locked inside for days. No internet, no phone, no human contact except for guards bringing food, the eyes of my family burning through the door. Each day was a battle against fear. My heart pounded constantly. My mind whispered I was doomed, that I had crossed a line I could never return from. And yet, amidst the terror, I felt a quiet presence I could not explain. It was him, Jesus. I whispered his name, Jesus, I am terrified. And somehow the heaviness lifted a little. A warmth flooded through my chest. I knew in that moment that whatever happened outside my door, my soul belonged to him now. They forced me to publicly reaffirm my loyalty to Islam, to recite the prayers I no longer believed in, to bow my head and submit as if nothing had changed. Every word was poison on my lips, but secretly my heart beat for Christ alone. I prayed silently between sentences, each whispered plea a declaration of my faith that no one could see. Fear pressed against me, suffocating, but his peace remained steady, like a lighthouse in the storm. That night, I lay on the floor of my room, staring at the ceiling, shaking, exhausted, but alive in a way I had never been before. I had chosen him. I had chosen truth over safety, love over fear. And in that quiet surrender, I felt the first true sense of freedom, even as the walls of my family and the world around me closed in tighter than ever. I realized that choosing Christ would cost me everything: my family, my comfort, my protection. But I also realized that with him, I had everything: hope, peace, love, and a life no one could take from me. In those days of confinement and scrutiny, I learned that faith was not about obedience to men or rituals, but about surrender to the one who had been waiting for me all along, who whispered my name, who called me out of darkness into light, and who promised that even in fear, I would never walk alone. And though the path ahead was dangerous and uncertain, my heart burned with a certainty I could not deny. I belonged to him now, completely, irrevocably, and nothing in this world could undo what had been done in the secret chambers of my soul. After those days of confinement, my life became a constant balancing act between fear and faith. Every phone call, every knock at the door, every shadow passing outside my window felt like a threat. I knew the government was watching. Friends who had quietly confessed their faith disappeared without explanation. Whispers of arrests and punishments circulating like rumors I dared not verify. The fear was suffocating, gnawing at my chest like a living thing, but even as my body trembled, my soul clung to him. I prayed in secret, every word a lifeline. Jesus, give me courage, give me peace, keep me safe, or give me strength to endure. And in the stillness, I felt him. Not in a vision this time, not in a dream, but in a quiet, undeniable presence that wrapped around me, filling the void that fear had carved. My chest lifted, my breath steadied, and I realized I could feel joy, hope, and courage at the same time as terror. I was alive, truly alive, in a way I had never been when I obeyed rules out of fear. I began to understand that following him would not always be safe. It might cost my life, my family, everything I had ever known. And yet, for the first time, danger felt like a companion, not a prison. I prepared myself quietly, praying for guidance, for clarity, for the strength to face what was coming. Each night, I read the Bible, hiding it in a compartment I had carved inside a drawer. And I began memorizing passages, repeating them under my breath until they became part of me. "Thus the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" I whispered repeatedly, tasting the power of truth. I prayed for my country, for the people who were trapped in fear, for the ones who had not yet seen the light. And I realized that my own fear could no longer dictate my actions. Something deeper had taken root in my soul, something unshakable: faith. Even though the walls of my home seemed to close in, even though I could hear the faintest hints of suspicion in the voices around me, and I felt the calm certainty that God was with me. And in that calm, I made a decision. I would no longer hide my faith forever. I would prepare myself to bear the cost, whatever it might be. In the quiet of my room, under the weight of dread and the shadow of possible death, I felt alive with purpose. I whispered to him, "I am ready. Lead me." And for the first time, the terror that had once dominated my life became a backdrop for courage, a canvas upon which his presence painted hope, the resilience and unwavering conviction. The path ahead was dangerous, yes, but it was also radiant with promise, because I had encountered the one who holds all fear, all darkness, and all hearts in his hands, and I know that nothing could separate me from his love. The day came when I could no longer hide. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest as I stepped into the room where my family gathered, the weight of their eyes pressing down on me. I could feel their suspicion, their fear, their anger like fire crawling over my skin. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling, and spoke the words that had been burning inside me for months. "I follow Jesus." The room froze. Silence stretched between us like a rope about to snap. Then it broke. Accusations, shouting, tears, and rage erupted all at once. "You are dead to us," my uncle screamed. "How could you betray your family, betray our faith?" My mother covered her face, crying, while cousins muttered in disbelief, some shaking their heads, some staring at me as if I were a stranger. I felt every layer of my identity stripped away in that moment. The name, the lineage, the privilege, everything that had once defined me. And yet, in the midst of the chaos, I felt a calm I could not explain, a steady presence in my chest that reminded me that I was no longer alone. "I cannot deny him," I whispered, more to myself than anyone else, "because he is my life." Tears streamed down my face, but they were not only sorrow, they were relief, freedom, and a strange, unshakable joy. They hurled words at me like daggers, calling me traitor, apostate, shame, failure. But each word bounced off the armor I had built inside my soul with his love. I saw the pain in my family's eyes, the fear in their trembling voices, and I mourned for them even as I stood firm. I realized then that following Jesus would cost me everything I had ever known. And yet, in losing all worldly security, I had found the only life that mattered. The confrontation stretched on for hours, each sentence a battle between fear and faith, loyalty to family and loyalty to truth. I could see the weight of our history, the lineage, the power, the expectations pressing down on them, and I understood that my refusal was not just rebellion, but a mirror showing them what they feared most: that truth cannot be forced, that love cannot be dictated, that faith must be chosen freely. When the shouting finally subsided, I was left standing alone in a room full of people who no longer recognized me. Disowned in their eyes, cut off from the safety I had once taken for granted, I felt the sting of abandonment. And yet, paradoxically, I had never felt more alive. The walls that had confined my spirit crumbled in that moment, replaced by a freedom I could not describe with words, a peace that no threat could touch. I knelt quietly that night in my room, exhausted, battered, as trembling, and prayed silently, thanking Him for the courage to speak, for the strength to endure, for the love that had carried me through the storm. I realized then that this confrontation was not an ending. It was the beginning of a new life, one where truth, love, and faith would guide me rather than fear, obedience, or bloodline. And as I whispered His name in the darkness, I felt the first true sense of belonging I had ever known, a belonging not defined by family, power, or fear, but by the one who had been waiting for me all along, who had never abandoned me, and who now walked with me into a future of uncertainty, hope, and unshakable love. After the confrontation, I withdrew into prayer and fasting, seeking guidance and strength in the silence of my room. Days and nights blurred together as I poured out my heart to Jesus, confessing my fears, my grief, and my longing for my country. And then, one night, as I knelt on the floor with tears streaming down my face, He appeared not in a dream this time, but in a vision that burned itself into my mind. I saw Iran, darkened and silent, but slowly light began to spread, flickering in homes, hidden rooms, and crowded streets. People were kneeling, praying, crying, reaching for something they could not yet name. Then I saw millions dreaming, dreams of Jesus, dreams of freedom, peace, and love. His voice came to me, gentle yet full of authority. I am not done with this land. I will awaken hearts, break chains, and bring hope where there is despair. Use your voice to call others, even if it costs you everything. My chest tightened. I understood the weight of what he was asking. Sharing this vision publicly could mean death, exile, or ruin, but I could not hide what I had seen. The images of people reaching, weeping, and discovering him burned in my heart, compelling me to speak. I felt his love flow through me, giving courage beyond what fear could contain. And I knew that my story, my testimony, too, could be a spark for others who were trapped in darkness, fear, and lies. The vision lasted hours in my mind, every detail vivid: the faces, the streets, the clandestine prayers, the small acts of faith that multiplied into a movement. And at the center, Jesus walking among his people, calling them by name, healing their wounds, forgiving their sins. I wept at the realization that this awakening could begin through ordinary, broken people like me, willing to surrender everything for truth. I prayed for courage, and he filled me with it, teaching me that fear has no authority over a heart surrendered to him. In the days that followed, I prepared myself quietly, writing, planning, hiding messages, praying for safety and wisdom, knowing that the moment would come to step forward. The vision became my compass, my anchor, and my purpose. I saw clearly that Iran's awakening could not wait, and neither could I. Even if my family rejected me, even if the world sought to silence me, I knew the truth I had seen was greater than any threat. Every night I repeated the verses I had memorized. Every morning I whispered his name, and slowly the fear that had once controlled my life began to shrink, replaced by a burning conviction to testify, to call others to the light, and to trust that he would guide me through whatever dangers lay ahead. I realized that this mission was not mine alone, that I was a vessel, a witness, a messenger, and that courage was born not from strength, but from surrender. And as I looked toward the future, I whispered, Jesus, I am ready. Use me for your purposes, even if it costs everything. Feeling an unshakable peace settle over me, a peace that no fear, no threat, no darkness could ever take away. Today, I have nothing left of the life I once knew. No family who embraces me, no wealth, no protection, but I have everything that truly matters. Jesus, his love, his presence, and a freedom I never imagined possible. And the chains of fear that bound me for decades are gone, replaced with a peace that passes understanding, a joy that cannot be stolen, and a purpose that guides every breath I take. I have discovered a family in Christ, hidden but real, full of people who understand the cost of choosing Him, who have been broken and restored, who love without judgment and pray without fear. I remember the girl I used to be, trembling at every glance, praying for permission to exist. And I see how far I have come, not by my strength, but by His grace. Every scar, every tear, every sleepless night has been transformed into testimony, and I now share my story so others who feel trapped, silenced, or afraid will know that they are not alone. To those who are questioning Islam or any faith that demands obedience over love, to those who feel suffocated by expectations, to those whose hearts are hungry for truth, there is hope. Jesus sees you. He knows your pain. He has been waiting for you. You do not need to earn His love or hide your questions. He calls you simply to come as you are. I have learned that truth is more powerful than fear, love more powerful than shame, and surrender more powerful than control. My past, my family, my name, my country, they are still part of my story, but they do not define me. Jesus defines me. He has restored my soul, healed my wounds, and given me a life full of purpose, courage, and hope. And so I share this testimony with you, not to condemn, not to accuse, but to invite. Step out of fear, step into His light, choose truth over comfort, choose freedom over obedience, choose Jesus. Because in Him, you will find what I found: peace that endures, love that never fails, and a life worth living, no matter what the world tries to take away. And as I look to the future, I pray for my country, for the people still trapped in darkness, that they will see, they will awaken, and they will know that even in the midst of fear, Jesus is coming and His love will reach them, just as it reached me, completely, powerfully, and forever.